There are many plants that you can bring into your home without thinking that it could be poisonous for your cat. Not all of these plants are fatal to your cat if it eats or bites them, but some of them can really kill your cat. Never think that your cat will know how to tell the difference and will avoid poisonous plants. In this video I will present you a list of common houseplants that can be a danger to your cat. It is important to know what plants to bring to a house where cats live if you do not want to return from work and find your cats poisoned. You wouldn't even think of many of the plants that pose a danger to your cat. Aloe Vera. This plant is toxic to both cats and dogs. If your cat has eaten aloe vera, it will have the following symptoms: vomiting, depression, diarrhea, anorexia, tremor, change in urine color. Apartment lily. Toxic to both cats and dogs. Signs of poisoning include vomiting, salivation, diarrhea. If the plant is consumed in large quantities it can cause convulsions, low blood pressure, tremors, cardiac arrhythmias. The most poisonous are the bulbs. Asiatic lily. Toxic to cats only. Symptoms of poisoning with this plant include vomiting, loss of appetite, lethargy, kidney failure. Eaten in large quantities, this plant can cause the death of your cat. Azalea. Toxic plant for cats, dogs and horses. Symptoms of poisoning include vomiting, diarrhea, excessive salivation, weakness, coma, hypotension, depression, cardiac arrest. This plant can also cause death. Begonia. Toxic plant for both cats and dogs. Signs of poisoning are irritation of the mouth, intense burning on the lips, tongue and mouth, excessive meowing, vomiting, difficulty swallowing. The most toxic are the tubers. Belladonna lily. This plant is toxic to both cats and dogs. If your cat has eaten belladonna lily, it will have the following symptoms: vomiting, depression, diarrhea, abdominal pain, excessive salivation, trembling. Bird of paradise flower. Toxic plant for cats, dogs and horses. Symptoms of poisoning include dizziness, vomiting, drowsiness. The most toxic are fruits and seeds. Baby's breath. Toxic to both dogs and cats. Symptoms of poisoning include vomiting and diarrhea. Brindle lily. Toxic plant for cats. Clinical signs of poisoning include vomiting, loss of appetite, kidney failure. The brindle lily especially affects cats and can be fatal. Bougainvillea. Toxic plant for cats, dogs and horses. The cat poisoned with this plant will show the following symptoms: vomiting, intestinal bleeding, jaundice, intense thirst, scratches, liver failure. This plant can also cause death. Palladium. Toxic plant for cats and dogs. Symptoms of poisoning include irritation of the mouth, burning of the lips and tongue, excessive meowing, vomiting and difficulty swallowing. Aloe lily. This plant is toxic to both cats and dogs. If your cat eats it, it will have the following symptoms: irritation in the mouth, burns in the mouth, tongue, lips, excessive meowing, vomiting and difficulty swallowing. Carnations. Carnations are toxic to cats and dogs. Cats poisoned after ingesting carnations will have gastrointestinal problems and skin infections. Coleus. Toxic plant for cats, dogs and horses. Symptoms of poisoning include vomiting, diarrhea, depression, and anorexia. Colocasia. Toxic to cats and dogs. Symptoms of poisoning include irritation of the mouth, burning of the tongue and lips, vomiting and difficulty swallowing. Cyclamen. Toxic plant for cats and dogs. Signs of intoxication include salivation, vomiting, diarrhea. If your cat consumes large amounts of tubers he will suffer from heartbeat abnormalities, seizures and may die. Crassula. Toxic to dogs and cats. Clinical signs of intoxication include nausea and vomiting. Chrysanthemum. Toxic to dogs, cats and horses. Signs of intoxication include vomiting, diarrhea, excessive salivation, inflammation of the skin. Daffodil. Toxic to cats, dogs and horses. Signs of intoxication include vomiting, diarrhea and salivation. Ingestion in large quantities may cause convulsions, low blood pressure, tremors. Bulbs are the most dangerous. Dahlia. Toxic plant for cats and dogs. Signs of ingestion include gastrointestinal problems and skin conditions. Dieffenbachia. Toxic to dogs and cats. Symptoms of poisoning include irritation of the mouth, severe burning of the tongue and lips, vomiting and difficulty swallowing. Trachina, toxic to dogs and cats. Symptoms of poisoning include vomiting with blood, depression, dilated pupils, excessive salivation. Trachina godsephiana, toxic to cats and dogs. Signs of intoxication include dilated pupils, difficulty breathing, abdominal pain, high blood pressure. Trachina fragrans, toxic to cats. Signs of ingestion include vomiting with blood, depression, hyperventilation and dilated pupils. Emerald queen fern, toxic to both dogs and cats. If your cat has just touched this plant, it will show inflammation on the skin. If ingested, the cat will have abdominal pain and vomiting and diarrhea. Ficus, toxic plant for cats, dogs and horses. Symptoms of poisoning include inflammation of the skin, irritation of the mouth, salivation and vomiting. Flamingo flower, toxic plant for cats and dogs. Signs of intoxication include irritation of the mouth, burning of the lips and tongue, vomiting and difficulty swallowing. Garden lily, toxic to both cats and dogs. Symptoms of poisoning include irritation of the mouth, burning of the tongue and lips, vomiting and difficulty swallowing. Gladiolus, toxic plant for cats, dogs and horses. Signs of intoxication include excessive salivation, vomiting, lethargy and diarrhea. The most toxic are the bulbs. Hellebore, toxic plant for cats, dogs and horses. Symptoms of poisoning include abdominal pain, diarrhea, colic and depression. Hosta, toxic plant for cats, horses and dogs. Symptoms of ingestion include vomiting, diarrhea, depression. Hyacinth, toxic to cats and dogs. Symptoms of intoxication include vomiting, diarrhea, inflammation of the skin, allergic reactions. Bulbs are the most toxic. Ivy, toxic plant for cats, dogs and horses. Symptoms of poisoning include vomiting, abdominal pain, excessive salivation, diarrhea. The most toxic are the leaves. Lily, toxic to cats. Cats that ingest lily will suffer from kidney failure. Lily of the valley. Lilies of the valley are toxic to cats, dogs and horses. Symptoms of poisoning include vomiting, irregular heartbeat, low blood pressure, disorientation, seizures or even coma. Marijuana, toxic plant for cats, dogs and horses. Clinical signs of intoxication include depression, vomiting, lack of direction, drowsiness or arousal, excessive salivation, dilated pupils, low blood pressure, low body temperature, seizures or even coma. Mistletoe. Mistletoe is toxic to cats, dogs and horses. Symptoms of ingestion include gastrointestinal disorders, cardiovascular failure, low heart rate, strange behavior, vomiting, diarrhea. Orange tree. Orange is toxic to cats, dogs and horses. Symptoms of poisoning include vomiting, diarrhea, depression and sensitivity to light. Orange lily. Toxic to cats only. Symptoms of poisoning include vomiting, loss of appetite, lethargy, kidney failure. Also, the lily can cause the death of your cat. Parsley. Parsley is toxic to cats, horses and dogs. Symptoms of poisoning include sensitivity to light and eye irritation. Pencil tree. Toxic plant for both cats and dogs. Symptoms of poisoning include irritation of the mouth and stomach and vomiting. Pink lily. Pink lily is toxic to cats. Signs of intoxication include vomiting, loss of appetite, renal failure. Philodendron. Philodendron is toxic to both cats and dogs. Symptoms of poisoning include irritation of the mouth, severe burning of the tongue and lips, vomiting and difficulty swallowing. Poinsettia. Poinsettia is toxic to cats and dogs. Signs of ingestion include irritation of the mouth and stomach and vomiting. Primrose. Toxic plant for cats. Poisoning with primrose will cause vomiting and diarrhea in your cat. Scindapsus. Toxic ivy species for dogs and cats. Signs of intoxication include irritation of the mouth, burning of the tongue and lips, vomiting and difficulty swallowing. Spearhead. Toxic plant for cats and dogs. Clinical signs of poisoning include irritation of the mouth, burning of the lips and tongue, vomiting, and difficulty swallowing. Sweet pea. Toxic to cats, dogs, and horses. Signs of intoxication include weakness, lethargy, pressure in the head area, tremor, and seizures. This plant can also cause death. Tomato plant. The tomato plant is toxic to cats, dogs, and horses. Signs of poisoning include excessive salivation, lack of appetite, gastrointestinal irritation, diarrhea, lethargy, depression, lack of orientation, weakness, dilated pupils, and low pulse. Tulips. Tulips are toxic to cats and dogs. The signs of tulip poisoning include vomiting, depression, diarrhea, and excessive salivation. The most toxic are the bulbs. Water hyacinth. Toxic plant for cats and dogs. Clinical signs of poisoning include vomiting and anorexia. White lily. Toxic to cats only. Signs of poisoning include vomiting, loss of appetite, lethargy, kidney failure. The white lily can also cause the death of the cat. Winter lily. Toxic to both cats and dogs. Signs of intoxication include vomiting, salivation, diarrhea. Ingestion in large quantities can cause seizures, low blood pressure, tremor, and heart arrhythmias. The most toxic are the bulbs. Now you should smash that like button and subscribe so you won't miss the next video. Thank you for watching.